I was on a roll with the the Hexagon cardigan granny square thing. And hello, sweet friends. It's Sarah at Crochet with Coffee, and thank you so much for joining me for another Monday chat. Today, I have some fun things because I've been dyeing some yarn this week. I am not a yarn dyer, and I don't know how it came out. But I'm going to show you what I did. And I did film a little bit of me dyeing it in the kitchen. So I'll play that a little bit later. But first, before I do that, I want to show you some of the things I've made this week. I went a little granny crazy because since I completed all of the whips on my list, other than the stuff that I have time limits for, like our Whip Wednesday blanket and things like that, I went crazy on making a few things. So I'm going to show you what I made. And a couple of these I will show you because right now it's too warm to wear it. We're in Florida and it has become summer already. So this one is a Hexagon cardigan. I am loving this one. I wish I could wear it right now. But here I have this granny square cardigan made up of a hexagon. You could really look up any hexagon cardigan tutorial. I don't have one technically. I do have a V-stitch cardigan on my channel that I shared, I think last week I was talking about it. You literally do the same thing, but instead of the V-stitch with the double crochet, chain, double crochet, you just do 3 doubles, and literally it's the same thing. But anyway, you could literally look up any tutorial. I think I'll do one in the future, but you just do that. This one was worsted weight. I used Big Twist, but you can use a worsted weight yarn. I used a 6.5 millimeter hook to get the really loose clusters, and then I did 20 rows. So this one I alternated the green every other row and then just went in order of doing the white, copper, or whatever color that was, I don't know, but the white, orange, and brown every other, and then the brown or the green every other row. And then on this side I did 3 rows of green and then still did the colors alternating the same pattern. So I've got one side that's more green, one side that's more colored, and then I just do a zipper join on the back, but I don't connect the last 2 clusters of this square. You see, that is the corner cluster, and that's the corner. I just don't do any of the corner clusters connected, but I should do a tutorial for this later, so I might end up doing that at some point. And then I just seam up the side, and the cuff is really simple. I just did a single crochet in each of these spaces of the granny square, so each space I did a single crochet all the way around that, and then I did a front post, back post for the cuffs on that. So like, I think I did 3 rows of that. So I did a row of single crochets and then a row of double crochets and then 2 rows of front post, back post alternating. So I should do a tutorial on that. Let me know if you want one, and I will put that on my list of things to make tutorials for. So super, super cute. Really loved doing that one. It's getting really warm in here already. Okay, I did that one. And then on top of that, I did more granny things. So I was on a roll with the granny Hexagon cardigan granny square thing, and I made a kid's size. So a kid's size, this is for my friend's daughter. She lives in a northern state, so it's still cold up there, but I did this one, and I alternated each row with a different color. I did the pastel color and the bright color, and she said that that her daughter loves a like this teal color and purple and pink. So I put all of those together to make this one. So with this one, I did the same construction, except I didn't do the cuffs. That I just did a row of single crochet so that it will last longer, you know, so she could wear it at whatever age and it would still fit, so you're not contained to cuffs. But I did that one, and this one is just 15 rows. So same structure, but 15 rows, and that makes like a kid size. And then still with the granny squares, I did this one for her daughter as well. And this one is 4 granny squares put together into a cardigan. So from the front you can see, and I alternated like the light teal, the light purple, the light pink, and like a darker purple color. So I alternated that and then did whatever random colors throughout. So that's this one. So you can see the 1 square, 2 squares, 3 and 4. That's the front, and this is the back side of it. So you just fold the side. I should put this on a hanger. You fold the side granny squares like this, and you fold the sleeve granny squares like that, and you just sew them together like that. And then when you get to the sleeves, on the back side, you only seam up half of that square and leave the other half unseamed. And I put a single crochet border around that. So that is also for my friend's daughter. I think she will like those colors. Now, another thing that I did with granny squares. I'm telling you, I was addicted to granny squares this week. This one is so cute. So this is a tutorial from Melody Yarn Tinka, and I will link this in the description, but she makes granny square sleeves, and these are so cute. These are granny square clusters made with 2 double crochets instead of 3, so it gives it a little bit more of a flowiness to it. Super cute. And she does this really cute thing with the cuff, that she keeps the cuff in a bell shape, but then has you weave a cord, just a chain through it, and do a little bow. So is that cute or what? But this one is so cute. I wore this to church and everybody loved it. But I used this really pretty, I don't know if you can tell the difference, but from here to here, I have I think it's called Autumn. It's the Red Heart Autumn yarn that I thrifted. And then from here to here, it was the Autumn Stripes from Hobby Lobby. Yeah. So I did that all the way across the back. So pretty. I love these colors. But I feel like you can see it more in the camera. It almost looks checkered here. But you can see it more in the camera, but in person, you really don't notice that color difference. I wish I had all of this one because I just love that. But yeah, so I love it. It dresses up a t-shirt really nicely. And I love when you can put your thumb through like a little hole in the cuff. I love doing that, so I do that with this one. And it is just a really cute thing to dress up a casual shirt. And I love the style that she shares. She has a lot of cute things and cute tutorials, so I would absolutely recommend going and checking out some of her stuff. Really, really cute ideas that she has. So that one was really fun. It worked up really quickly, and it was a lot of fun. So you guys ready to see the yarn dyeing thing that I did? I'm gonna have you watch that. I don't know how much I can fit in there because it was chaos and I couldn't get the right angles for the pots of water and the sink and all that stuff. So bear with me on that, but you'll get the general idea of it. And then I will show you what I have over here in just a second of the finished stuff. So let's check that out and I'll be right back. So today we're gonna dye some yarn. I have some water boiling on the stove right now, and we are using these kits that I got at Joann when they closed. So I've got 2 of them that are wool, and I don't work with natural fibers really. So we got wool. I don't know how it's gonna work up, but I really love the colors they have down here. And I don't know if I'm gonna do those or what, but I really like the way that that came out. Those 2 I really like. So the colors all came together. So I've got the 2 for the wool, and I've got 1 cotton. I kind of read the directions. That's kind of how I do all my stuff. But I have these cakes of yarn that were gifted to me that I'm not going to use in that color. So what I was thinking is I will make them in hanks. I know that this is not a proper size for a hank, but I just wrapped it around my arm, and we're gonna go with that and hope for the best, because I don't know how that's gonna work. But anyway, I have this cotton along with the white cotton that they sent in the kit, and then we're gonna test that out and see how all of that goes. From what I'm reading in the instructions, the wool ends up getting vinegar added to the water when you like pre-soak it, and the cotton gets salt. So I'm dividing up my water and all of that, and then you add the dye. And you know, another really cool thing that they have on the instructions is how to get the different colors. So I'm gonna go for this color because what I want to do is kind of match some of the colors in this cotton, because I would really like to use this for that cardigan that I want to make. So I'm thinking that olive color, or the old rope color is really nice. Hot cocoa is nice. Dandelion, the clementine, pine forest. I mean, I would be happy with any of those, but because the base of this one is a yellow, and then the base of this one is a light blue, I don't know how it's gonna turn out. So I'm excited to see what happens with it. So let's get dyeing and see how all this works. So I heated up this glass bowl with some warm water or hot water from the sink, so I can put hot water in that now without it hurting it. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in here. All right, so this one's gonna be for my wool. I'm gonna put my cotton in this one. So wool says to measure out the vinegar, but we're just gonna do a little splash. And then for salt, I don't know if Himalayan sea salt will work for this, but that's all that I have right now. Got Beast and the Grinch. So this is how it comes in the box. And it said to add, see, that hank is definitely a different size than the one that I wrapped up. I think the one that I did will work fine, but all right. So it said to tie some scrap yarn around it every so often, so I'm going to do that. All right, so here's the first one. We're just going to soak that. I think for this one, I'm going to try using the speckle technique that they have on here. I'm going to try doing that one. I'll probably do one like that and one like that for the wool. It says to lay damp yarn onto this pan, so I'm going to wring this out. It says to make sure it's still hot from the soak. So we got that. Lay this one out. It says that the variegated is done kind of like this too, but this says to lay it out, and then you're supposed to sprinkle the dye on top of it. Now let's cover it. It says that the steam is going to help the colors soak into the yarn. So let's see how it goes. It'll be interesting, that's for sure. I know that at least. All right, let's let this do its thing, and then we'll do the variegated later, but let's work on the cotton for a little bit. All right, cotton wound up, blue cone is empty. So this is what we have. Let's see how it works. This is a mess. I have some chaos over there. So let's check in on our wool over here. It's looking a little weird. I would absolutely say this is strange looking. Speckled, kind of. It's got some blues and different things in there. So it said to let it sit for 30 minutes, and it has done about that. So I'm going to rinse this one. All right, so for the dye, for this other skein, it says to do a teaspoon of vinegar and 2 teaspoons of color. We're gonna eyeball everything because I don't feel like measuring. For the blue, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow. And all right, let's add our hot water in here. And then we can lay our yarn out on here, and then we just pour it over for like a variegated look. Add a little bit of orange in there too. We'll see how it goes. It'll be fun. I feel like with the speckled one, I probably should have left it more damp, because I kind of wrang it out, and I thought that when it said damp, it meant to like wring it out a little bit. But I think maybe I should have just left it more like this, like right out of the water. And I'm just gonna take this dye and just pour it over different sections and just see how it goes. This is supposed to be the blue that I added some yellow and orange to. So let's see how that one turns out. It looks black right now. All right, this is the yellow. And here's the orange. All right, this is gonna be interesting because none of these colors look like the ones that I thought they would. So this is gonna be fun. We'll check it out and see how it is. So we're gonna let it sit for a half hour. So this is still heating so I can get the cotton soaked, and then we can start the coloring process of that one. I'm gonna get this one that was from the box prepped with putting little ties around it so it stays together. So I'm gonna put little ties around there like I've done with the rest of these so that they stay together. Here is the green I ended up doing this bullfrog green. It's yellow and a little bit of royal blue. And so this one here is the white from the package. So just a solid white. And then this one is the variegated yellow. So this one was this one. That's what this one is. That's this one. I love it right now. It is looking so cool. This is the green color I was going for. So depending on how this rinses out, we could be really close. So now I'm getting this blue ready for dyeing. Trying to figure out what colors I want to do for that. So now I have this color here, and what I'm going for is this old rope color. So I did gold, tangerine, and a tiny little bit of blue. So this is what it looks like in there. So it's like a goldish color. So let's see what it turns out to be with the blue on this background. Oh, it's gonna be yellow. All right, a yellowy blue. I'm okay with that. I don't mind that. That's okay with me. But we'll see how it turns out as it sits. See, the water looks brown. So we'll see how it turns out. It'll be fun. I'm excited. All right, so here is the yarn I'm going to show you. The first one that I did was that speckled coloring on the wool yarn. Now, this yarn is still just the slightest bit damp. I'm going to wind this into cakes, but I just have to let it sit for a little bit longer to dry a tiny bit, but I should be able to have that in this video for you to see what it looks like caked up, because this is going to be beautiful. All right, so this is the one that was made with the sprinkling the dye powder onto the wool. So it looks very sporadic tie-dye. I'm not a huge fan. I wish that I would have mixed the colors together before sprinkling it, because they're very, you know, like they're supposed to be orange, yellow, and blue, but it did not come out like the picture on the box at all. I followed the instructions for the most part. I mean, as far as I could tell, I followed the instructions, but that is how that one came out. So still a little bit damp. That one has to sit out for a tiny bit to dry for a little bit longer. And this is the other wool one that I did that I poured the color onto. So this one was supposed to be the blue, but it ended up being like a brownish, greenish, black color because I mixed all the colors in together. But that is this one. So I was thinking this is wool. It might make good slippers and socks, and maybe like the foot of the sock and then the toe and heel and cuff of the sock. Just throwing out some ideas, or maybe I do a pair of socks and a pair of socks. But this one's going to be variegated. I can't wait to see what this one looks like caked up. This one is going to be really neat caked up too, and see how it actually works up. But those are the two for the wool. Now I have the cotton that came with the kit. I'm going to show you that one really quick because that was the plain white one. And that is this. So it came out to be a really nice green. My husband saw these sitting in bowls on the counter and he was like, oh, that's exactly how I like my spaghetti. He's a goofball. So that was the one, the cotton that came in the kit. It's almost braided. It looks braided. See that? And my fingers looked terrible yesterday. You could tell I had dyed stuff. You know how when you dye things and you don't wear gloves? Or sometimes when you do wear gloves, it gets all under your nails and it looks gross. That was me yesterday. All right, so this one was, I believe this one was part of the yellow skein of the cotton. This one. I'm pretty sure that's what this one was. But that is this one. I can't remember. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this was the blue one. But this is the orange. And this is orange, and I think I sprinkled a tiny bit of the blue in there, maybe a tiny bit of the yellow. I can't remember what I did. But that's the way the orange came out. It's kind of, you know, you can see some dark, some light colors in there from using that variegated yarn. And then this one, I believe, this one was either the blue or the yellow one too. I can't remember. But this is the other green that I did. You can see the colors in there are like a variegated from whatever the base was. And this one was actually that whole cone of the blue. I unwound the whole cone of this blue color. And this one ended up being this yellowy green, beautiful mix of colors. And my ties have a little bit of a lighter. You can see some of that original color showing through because I didn't get under the ties apparently, or tied it too tight. I thought I did them loose, but I guess not. And I don't know, this one ended up having some orange in there. Just a little, you know, little bit of extra color. It just ended up so cool. So I'm very excited about this. And my goal was to match this skein. And I think I did that for the greens. There's that strand right there. And then this one, some of those yellowy strands in there. This orange one looked like a perfect match when I pulled it out of the dye, and then it lightened up. So that is definitely a different orange. But it was like, it was more of a, I guess this is reddish, but it looked way closer to that color when I pulled it out of the dye. So that lightened up significantly. So that was my adventure with dyeing yarn, and I have a plan for this. I believe I showed it to you guys last week. I have a sweater that is made out of cotton yarn. At least I think it's made out of cotton yarn. I need to look at the pattern again. But it looks like it would be a good one with cotton. And I'm going to make it with this dyed yarn and see how that looks. And I'm going to start that this week. So hopefully I can give you some good progress next week, because it's the only thing that I'm going to be working on other than, you know, my pattern tutorial recording and editing and all that stuff. So, and our WIP Wednesday. So other than that, this is the only thing I'm going to be working on this week. So I'm really excited to see what next week progress I have. And so I'm going to be back in a little bit because I'm going to let this air dry a little bit longer, and then I'm going to cake it up. So I'll take you along that, and then we'll show you what it looks caked up in just a little bit. So stick around for a couple minutes and I'll get this caked up so you can see what it looks like. All right, so I have all of the skeins wound up and I want to share those with you. So I have the wool here. This is the one that was just like a speckled, that was supposed to be speckled. And that's what that one looks like all wound up. I don't have my mic on today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So, all right. Now, this is the one that I poured the color over. It's so pretty. It turned out really nice. So I have those two in the wool. And now for the cotton. I have this orange one all wrapped up. I've got this green one. All of my greenish yellow ones ended up being very similar. So this was whatever the variegated one was that I used from my cone. This is the one that came in the kit. So it's more of a solid green. And then this was the blue one that I did the large amount of. Oh yeah, that one was the blue too. This one is also blue. So it came out really nice. And now I want to share another part of it with you where I started something last night. So this is a part of the cardigan from this pattern here. I'll have it linked in the description. And the colors are nicer. I only have a black and white printer, but the colors are nicer on the link. So if you want to check that out, but look how cozy that is in the fit of it. And the yarn that is used in here, I think is half cotton, half acrylic, but I figured I'd just use cotton and hope for the best on that. But this is a size large is what I'm making. And I am mixing all of my greens that I have and doing this along with it, the one that I was trying to match the colors with. So my greenish yellows are in there. Really, really love the way this is turning out. And then I figured, because I weighed out what I have dyed and then what the pattern suggests, because it's in yards, and then I converted that to yards and weight and all that stuff. So hopefully this will be enough to take the place of the white. And then the colored skein should take the place of any of the colored stripes, except for the white is not going to, I'm still short on the white. So I was thinking of taking this color and adding, doing another dye for this and add orange to it. So dye this in an orange, and it's supposed to come out brown. So I'm going to try that out and see what that one ends up being when I dye it with the orange dye or the tangerine, whatever that color was. So that is my plan for this week. I'm going to continue working on the cardigan, see how far I get this week, see what that dye color ends up being with the green, and I figure the trim and the cuffs and the button band and the trim around the bottom can all end up being that brownish green color. And I was thinking it might end up being maybe that type of color. You see that brownish? So maybe something like that is what I'm hoping for. And that would be really cool. But that wraps up today. Actually, I do have, we have a new coffee buddy. So the membership here at Crochet with Coffee, you get a shout out when you become a member. So I want to thank Janine. Thank you so much for becoming a coffee buddy. That helps the channel so much. So I appreciate that so very much for you becoming a coffee buddy. So you now have emojis that you can use in the chats and in the comments. You have these little crochet and coffee themed emojis that you can use now, and you can access that. And you also get a little badge next to your name. So you'll see a little coffee mug next to your name now. So Janine, thank you so much for becoming a coffee buddy. I believe that concludes everything for this video, so thank you so much for joining me. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you find joy in the little things.